Got it. Okay, welcome everybody. It's scheduling and time management. If you're not here already, you're late and you need this class more than anybody else. And I hope everybody's had a really great week. It's just been, I know it's been challenging. Fall is like this rebirth, this new beginning as we kind of get into, almost into the winter season. But this is the time to create all of the strategies, create all the planning that you're going to create so that you can make 2022 the year that you want it to be, rather than just reacting to what you see. We're going to get started. I'll share my screen here. I hope this works. I'm doing something a little bit different on my screen here, so we'll see if this works. You might see some black bars on the top and the bottom of the screen, but hopefully you can see this okay. And if you have questions, I'm going to try and ask some questions during this. If you have questions, I can't really see things on my screen, and it's just the way it is. So Abraham, our assistant, he may just kind of kick in and help me out with a few of these things. But let's get started. Awesome. Okay. Recap of last week. Who did some of their homework or any of their homework? Who did anything from last week? And maybe just unmute and let me know. Oh, good, Helen, you did. What did you do?
I started collecting pictures for my vision board, and
Nice.
And all that I did last week was write out what my short-term goals were for the week.
And what kind of short-term goals do you have for this week?
That one was to start my vision board, and I had a bunch of stuff on my list, mostly my homework and assignments from last week's, and then life got in the way. So that's why today I want to learn all about scheduling so that I don't let distractions keep me from my goals.
Awesome. That's great. Yeah. We talked about the importance of having these goals. We talked about writing a business plan. We talked about envisioning and achieving our goals. We talked about writing that letter to ourselves. It's a really great exercise that we did, maybe establishing some of the habits and routines. And we talked about how successful people have these great habits and routines. And we're going to kind of continue that theme when we get into scheduling and time management for this week. So today we're going to talk about the following things: understanding the importance of and creating a schedule, delegating tasks and when you should delegate, what you should delegate, how much time should you be spending on lead generation, and we're going to talk about time management, which is probably, I'd say, the number one topic. When I talk to agents and I say, what's your biggest challenge, your biggest struggle? It's usually time management. So let me ask you a question. Who here used to work a 9-to-5 job before they were a real estate agent? Anybody do a 9-to-5? Yeah, a few of you, hey? Yeah, for Byron, not that long ago, right?
No, about a few months.
A few months ago, yeah, that's right. Okay, and who here became a real estate agent to become their own boss and control their time? Yeah, I know I did. I used to work at an engineering firm, and boy, I'll tell you, if you've worked in an engineering firm, it's, life is pretty good now. Let's just say that. We know that agents are 100% responsible for their own actions and activities. And that is going to be your worst enemy and your best friend in life. When we are responsible for our own outcomes and activities, that you have to be a pretty strong-willed person if you're going to actually follow these routines and these activities. So does anybody here have an actual schedule that they follow every single day? Nobody, hey? I don't see any hands up. No schedules. Okay. Let me ask you this, and you can type this in the chat if you want to, or you can unmute. I want to know, what do you think that a day in the life of a top producer looks like? What do you think the activities are of a top producing real estate agent? So go ahead and put them in the chat, or just unmute and let me know.
They follow a schedule.
Follow a schedule. Okay. So what kind of activities would they do in that schedule? what are some of the activities that a top producer, like think of the number one agent in your market, some superstar. What do you think they do every day?
Lead
Morning
generate.
routine,
Lead generate. Okay, perfect. So they generate leads. Yeah.
following a morning routine.
Following a morning routine. Yeah, probably. Do you think they probably get up at the same time every day and maybe exercise or, you know, have a similar breakfast every day, probably, right? The morning
Mhm.
routine.
Mhm.
What else? What else was a top producer? What's like the best agent in the market? What do you think they do every single day? What does their day look like?
I
think
used
they
to
probably-
have a
Oh, sorry,
schedule
go ahead.
Oh, sorry, Michelle.
No, you go ahead. Go ahead, Helen.
Yeah, I used to have a schedule every day. So I had my weekly goals, which
Mhm.
were higher level. And then every morning I sat down and I planned out my day. I time blocked for all the things that I had to get done that day. I had a list of, extras. I got up at the same time. I was working the same time. And my biggest challenge and why I let it go by the wayside was that I was constantly erasing and changing the times for everything because I always I couldn't block everything else out. If I had a phone call come in or I had something happen, I was always changing my schedule. And I thought, well, this is a waste of time. I'm writing and erasing more than I'm doing.
So what I hear you saying is you had a schedule and you knew what you wanted to accomplish, but then there was interruptions, almost like you're the earth and there's these meteors coming at you and they're just hitting and hitting and hitting and they're distracting you from what you wanted to do. Is that right?
Yep. And I never got, I would maybe get 1 or 2 things done out of 5 that I absolutely had to do. So it just carried forward to the next day and the next day and the next day. And I know that that's a discipline thing. And that's taking time out to work on what I need to do and turn my phone off and put a sign on the door and just get it done. But having this schedule gave me much more structure.
It kind
Getting
of felt
up,
good,
getting
didn't it?
showered. Yeah, it felt good. It felt productive. And even though I was distracted a lot, I think that I probably got a lot more done when I had a schedule than I do now.
Good. That's great. Good share.
To Helen's
Michelle,
point. Yeah, I was going to say everything that she just said. The fire, I find that there's a lot of fire putting out, especially working from home, because there's a lot of interruptions that happen here, whether it be, your cats are jumping up in the way or there's some issue at home that it feels like it's a priority.
Absolutely.
But yeah.
Byron,
Fires.
how about you? What would you say if you were to look at a top producer, somebody who's just doing 100, 125, 150 deals a year? What would their day look like? What kind of activities would they do? We already have maybe a strong morning routine, lead generation. What else would they do?
I think it was mentioned earlier, but I think just kind of doing the same thing every day, regardless of what it is, but making sure that every day you do a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and continue doing that. So it's just kind of part of you. So
some structured activities that they do daily.
Yes.
Got it. Okay. Michelle Gold, do you have any idea what would a high producing real estate agent also do in their day? Like what are all the activities that they would be responsible for? Let me give you a hint. If you were selling 50 to 75 homes a year, would you do it on your own?
Yeah, no.
No. What would you do? You'd have
Check in with my assistant first thing in the morning.
There you go. So they probably manage
Delegate.
their team, right? So they may have an assistant or 2, and they probably have to have some meetings with them and kind of see what's going on for the day, right? So part of it might even just be some of the HR, some of the thinking about their team and maybe training or working with a buyer's agent to understand where they're at, maybe doing some training, right? Would a top agent, would they have to talk to clients? Would they have to, like say, talk to clients on the phone, maybe go on listing presentations? Would that be something that they would do? Yeah. Would they, do you think they'd work late into the evening working with buyers, or do you think they'd have somebody else doing that for them? Maybe they do, right? So let's ask this next follow-up question. What do your daily activities look like right now? And compare and contrast that to what a top producer is doing. So if you're wondering why you're not at the level that you think you might be at or need to be at in real estate, and whether that's your goal is 15 or 20 deals a year, or your goal is 50 or 100 deals a year, the schedule is going to be one of those critical components, right? Let me ask you a question right now. What do you think your clients do? Sorry, what do your clients think that you do all day?
Buy and sell houses.
Yeah, they think that you help people buy and sell homes, right? What do you actually do all day? Right? And you know, there's this kind of romantic notion, I think, when a person hires a real estate agent for the job of selling their home. Now, if it's a hot seller's market, you know, you're probably going to sell that home fairly quickly if you priced it right. But let's just say it's a little bit of a slower market and it's going to take 30, 60, 90 days to get a home sold. Your client hires you thinking that for the next 30, 60, 90 days, you're doing just about everything in your power. You're networking, you're communicating with other agents, you're talking to the buyer's agents, you're getting feedback. I mean, you are like trying to sell that home 8 hours a day at least, right? So if you go around posting on your social media all day, I'm out doing this and I'm doing that and I'm eating this and I'm out with my friends, do they look at that and kind of go, yeah, can you just be working on selling my home? Right? So I always said, wouldn't it be interesting if there was a webcam in your office and that webcam had a direct link to your clients and your clients were able to see what you're doing throughout the entire day? Would your clients appreciate what you're doing? Or would they look at you and kind of go, oh, I have hired the wrong person. This lady, she is like on Facebook all day. She's on Instagram. She's just scrolling through things. She's like, now she's helping her kids do something. And now she's helping her husband do something. And now she's doing this. She's like, that is not what I would want if I was hiring a real estate agent. I would want somebody who's, you know, strong morning routine, getting their mindset right, calling other agents, going on listing presentations. They're in it to win it. So you got to ask yourself what kind of agent you want to be. I'm going to share with you here. This is Simone's schedule when she was at her peak, when she was really, really going after it. And you'll see here, it starts early, 3:45 in the morning. Why did it start at 3:45? Not because she loves 3:45 in the morning, although she kind of does. It's because there was so much that she wanted to do in her morning routine that she needed that time to get it done because she wanted to be in the office for 7:50 in the morning to start her routine. So you can see the green part, that's the working part. And the pink part, that's the personal stuff. So she would wake up at 3:45, get dressed, get ready, you know, have a cup of coffee and some water. 4 o'clock, she's practicing speed reading and typing practice, you know, some personal stuff to make her better. So doing something to improve your life and improve your day. Then she would do affirmations and gratitudes, maybe review her monthly plan and her schedule for the day, her activities. 5 to 6, she'd go work out or do yoga. 6 o'clock, 6:15, she'd get ready for the day, get showered, etc. In the morning, spend some family time with the kids, get them to the bus. Isn't that fun, right? A little time with the kids. Now, 7:50, she's in the office, ready to go, 10 minutes before 8. So at 8 o'clock, she does role play with another agent for 25 minutes. And then at 8:30, she starts prospecting. She gets on the phone. She starts talking to past clients. And you can see in the white, when she talks about prospecting in here, which scripts is she going to use? So she has to write out which script she's going to practice. And then she's going to call her past clients in Sphere. She's going to call some builders. She's going to maybe call some expired listings, some for sale by owners, and some just listed, just solds. This is the order in which she's going to call people. And then she's going to have a morning debrief with her assistant. And then have a quick lunch in the office at her desk. Get ready for her first listing appointment, which is at 1 o'clock. And then she's got another spot for a listing appointment at 2 o'clock. Then from 4 till 5:15, she's scheduled in personal time with the family. Again, just to be around where the kids are. Maybe they're just getting home from school and they want to have a bite to eat or whatever. She's scheduled in her family time. Does that make sense? If you don't schedule in your personal time, you're just going to fit it into your work time. You can see at 6 o'clock, 6 to 7, alternate listing presentation time. Like this is an alternate time, not the default time. She wants to fit all of her listing presentations in during the day so she can have the evening to her time. 4 o'clock to 8:30 is family time. And then 8:45, some gratitudes and meditation, 9 o'clock, bedtime. So this is what it takes to become a top producer. This is not hard. This is actually easy. And I think you'll find that most people are comfortable in a routine. Helen kind of said that when she said, I felt happier. I felt better when I was following some sort of routine. I know myself personally, when I'm out of my routine and I don't do the things that I want to do in the morning, I feel kind of not so great for the day. I feel unaccomplished. And one of the great things is if you're following your routine, you don't feel guilty about not doing work that day because you've already done the things that you need to do, and you can spend the afternoon off and not feel guilty. Okay. So let's look at an ideal schedule and the elements of an ideal schedule. This is kind of what any top producer will have in their schedule. And you can write these down because these are all things that you should look at for your ideal schedule. Yes, Abraham.
Michelle got a question.
Okay.
What did your schedule look like?
Well, my schedule was a little different because I worked with buyers. So I had same thing, morning schedule. I always started at 5 a.m. and I was always in the office at 7:30. And then I called my past clients. I called those people. And then I would work on, responding to my clients, all the emails and everything. And I had a set time. And then I had showings set up for 2 o'clock and 6 o'clock. And that was kind of my day. It was answering questions, dealing with negotiations, dealing with home inspection items throughout the day. But I had set times where I was in the office. I don't have my schedule here to show you, but if I find it, I'll definitely put it up for you. Yes, my husband needs to see what I'm doing all day. I love that. That's great. Okay, let's look at elements of an ideal schedule, okay? An ideal schedule is going to have some sort of morning routine. It could be as simple. I mean, we all have a morning routine. It's just some people actually control their morning routine. Other people just go about, brushing their teeth, getting ready and everything like that. A strong morning routine, and it's something you'll see these numbers here. These actually pertain to the modules because we're going to talk about each one of these things throughout the year. So I actually have a whole module on morning routine. We're going to do a deep dive on what a good, strong morning routine would look like. There's got to be some form of prospecting. Now, when I use the word prospecting, people are like, oh, this is all picking up the phone and calling people, and I don't like doing that. No problem. Any kind of lead generation is prospecting. It's any way of digging through leads and generating business is prospecting. This should be a regular activity that you do every single day. If you don't have any leads, you need to prospect to get more leads. This is like if you're a cop and you don't have any tickets, you got to go out and find tickets. I mean, it's like every industry we have this, right? Sales. Pre-qualification, there should be times in your schedule, there should be times in your day where you pre-qualify people before going on appointments. Because remember, prospecting is all about generating appointments. Pre-qualification is so that you don't go on crappy appointments. So pre-qualification is really, really important. Attending appointments, like going on appointments, is part of your schedule. So when do you go on appointments? Do you go on random appointments all the time, or do you have a scheduled time that you go on appointments? I remember, I was working with buyers. I did 56 buyers my peak year. It was crazy. I mean, you can imagine like a deal a week closed is a gong show of a schedule. And I was talking to my coach, and he said, what time do you show buyers? And I said, well, I show them at 2 o'clock and 6 o'clock, because I had already put that in my schedule, and I was really religious about making sure that people went into my schedule at 2 o'clock and 6 o'clock. He said, great. When do you present offers? I said, whenever they come in, like somebody writes an offer and I present it. And he goes, well, you should have that in your schedule. So he said, I only presented offers at 2 o'clock PM or whatever it was, or 3 o'clock. And I said, wow, that's fascinating that you could actually schedule when you present offers. Now, you may not need to do that at this stage, but just something to think about, how a top producer thinks about their day, scheduling, compartmentalizing, putting these things. I don't know why these are out of order, but admin, right? So maybe you need to set aside some time in your day when you actually do admin work. Oh, do you need to organize your CRM? Do you need to figure out what mail out you're going to send to your past clients? Whatever your administrative tasks are, maybe some marketing things, schedule that right into your day. Skill development. Now, I'm huge on this, and Agent Upgrade is basically all about business practices and skills of a good salesperson. Because if you don't practice and learn your skills every single day, you're going to start to lose it. And this is like wanting to learn a new language. This is like wanting to learn to ride a bike or do anything that requires skills. You have to learn the skills and then practice them daily. So you should have some skill development built right into a routine. Lead follow-up. So you generate leads, you pre-qualify leads, you follow up with leads. Now, most people, they get a message from a lead and they either ignore it for a long period of time and then try and get back to them 3 or 4 days later, or maybe feel guilty that they haven't responded and it's probably too late now and they think in their head that the whole thing's dead, and then so they just let it go. Or they get a lead and they stop everything they're doing and they just heads down and they deal with it right away, right? What I always practiced in an ideal schedule, respond to people right away, but you don't have to tell them everything right away. So you respond, hey, I'd love to help you. Why don't we set up a call, setting up an appointment? Why don't we set up a call to discuss at 3 o'clock today when I've got time? And people will respond beautifully to that. Hey, that's great. Thanks for responding so quickly. But you don't have to drop everything and eliminate your schedule. So if a lead comes in, now, first of all, if you're a high producing agent, your assistant or administrator should handle that lead for you and say, thanks for reaching out. Can I have Helen call you later at 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock, setting that appointment, okay? And maybe some time for business development. So this is when you work on your business. What kind of, do I need to redo my schedule? Do I need to figure out what scripts I'm going to be using tomorrow? Whatever kind of business development aspects that you have, maybe working on, I really need to hire an assistant. So I got to put together an ad for an assistant. I got to figure out where I'm going to advertise for it. I got to put together a job description. When am I going to do all that stuff? Do you just eliminate your whole schedule and say, well, I don't have time to do that? Or do you put these things into your schedule? Your goals in real estate, whatever your goal is, I want you to think about your transactional goal, say for 2022, and whether it's to do, again, 15 deals, 20 deals, 30 deals, 50 deals, 100 deals, whatever it is. Does that goal scare you a little bit? Does it kind of make you a little bit nervous? And are you increasing that goal from last year or just kind of maintaining? Do you have a lot of listings right now? Do you have no listings right now? Do you have any buyers that you're working with? Okay, that goal should scare you a little bit. It should be like, oh boy, getting to that goal would be scary, right? So those goals, I want you to kind of think about these goals and kind of mull that over in your head and say, okay, my goal is to do 30 deals next year. My goal is to do 40 deals, whatever it is, right? What we want to decide now is what activities are going to be required in order to meet that goal. What specific activities do you need to do daily in order to meet that goal? And also, more importantly, what kind of activities do you do daily that need to be eliminated so that you can reach that goal? Are there things that you're doing every day that you just kind of go, you know what? I need to either wake up earlier, I need to add in exercise, and I need to, eat better or whatever, or I need to stop watching Netflix at 8 o'clock every night for 4 hours, or I need to stop this, or I need to stop that. What are the activities that you need to eliminate? Because the schedule, as it says here, is got to be based on your production goals, not someone else. You can't look at Simone's schedule and say, well, if I just do that, I'll do 100 deals. No, because her schedule is based on where she was at that time. Her schedule was different years 1, 2, and 3. And this was year 4 or 5 when her schedule was like that. And then we want to think about, if you followed this new schedule that you're going to build, what would be the results? If you followed it 100%, what would happen? Would you hit your income goal? And if you did, like what would 20 deals or what would 30 deals, what would 40 deals mean to you? And we did that, remember when we did the goal setting? We put at the very bottom, if I do this many deals, it'll mean an income of that, and it'll mean these 3 things I'll be able to do for my family. So I want you to tie the importance of this schedule, because if something's really important, you'll make it happen. Like people become superhuman when they have to go and save their kid in the ocean. Like they see a kid drowning and suddenly their ability to sprint and swim is like they've never seen before, right? People become superhuman when it's really important. And that's like life and death. So how important can you make your goal so that your schedule becomes so important that you don't just blow it off? And that when somebody interrupts you, you're like, wait a second, this is really important what I'm doing. Right? Who's heard of the 80-20 rule? And what kind of examples would you say in real estate? You can put it in the chat if you want to, but what kind of examples do you see in the real estate industry that follow the 80-20 rule? And this is called, by the way, the Pareto principle. And while you're what do you see in real estate, guys? What do you see around you? What do you see in the industry that would follow something along the line of, 20% of the realtors do all the work? Sure, we know that there's, in I think Alberta, there's 10,000 real estate agents, and out of them, there's probably only 2,000 that are doing 80% of the work. 80% of new agents fail, 20% succeed. Good one. All right. Save 80% of your income, spend 20. Wow, wouldn't that be a dream? I think most people spend 99% of their income and save 1. It's good. So the Pareto principle, he was an economist. His name was Wilfredo Pareto from Italy. And he said, the richest 20% in the world earn 80% of the income in the world. And so the question that we can apply this to our schedule is, if 80% of our income comes from 20% of our activities, what are those activities that we're doing? And don't you think we could, if we just did a little bit more of those activities? When you think about all the things that you do in a day, the things that actually lead you to a deal is really only about 20% of the things that you're doing right now. So 80% of your income is coming from 20% of your activities. So what if we got that 20% up to like 75%? And what if we did what we call income producing activities 75% of the time. Our income would just blow up, right? Because we're doing the activities that actually lead us to income. And this is what we call income producing activities. And my coach always said, 75% of your activities should be income producing activities and 25% of your activities should be income servicing activities. Okay. So we will talk about those things. Let's talk about the morning routine. So the morning routine is critical, and we do have a whole topic on this, so I'm not going to get too far into this. But we do know that if you control your morning, you're going to control your entire day. Okay, you control the morning, you're going to control the entire day. Even if you only follow your schedule until noon, you are way ahead of anybody else. So I've always talked about that. If you have a schedule and you put your most important activities stacked at the beginning, and at noon, you just become the most random person in the world, you're still going to win in this game. So that's why you have to highly protect that morning. So anything before noon has to be absolutely protected. Okay. You can start by having a very strong morning routine, waking up at a specific time every single day. And we talked about, with some of you mentioned at the beginning, that you have all these interruptions throughout the day, right? So we have to minimize these interruptions. How do we minimize interruptions? We do so by controlling our morning. We do so by letting the people around us. You work at home, you have your kids at home, you have your husband, your wife, you have your dog, whatever it is. You have to minimize and schedule your interruptions. So you have to let everybody know, I've got this really important routine. I have to follow this until this certain time. I've scheduled time for you and I to be able to communicate, to be together. But in order for me to hit my goal, I need to be able to do this and this and this during this time. Would you support me on that? And they're going to come in and they're going to be like, Mom, Jimmy's bugging me over there or whatever, right? Kids do these things. It happens, I know. And you're going to get these interruptions, but you're going to just work to minimize those interruptions, understand that they're an interruption, and then work to minimize them. How can, like, this is key. This is critical. Now, how about the interruptions of a cell phone ringing while you're supposed to be doing something else, and you get a phone call from somebody and you don't know what it's about, and so you pick it up and then you get into a phone call and that leads to another task, and that just threw you off your entire morning, right? We've dealt with that. I deal with it all the time, right? Here's the analogy I use, okay? If you're driving through the mountains, or if you're in Midwest United States and you're driving through the prairies and the bald land, and you're in between cell phone towers and you're in the mountains and all that, and you have no cell signal, what happens? You don't get any calls, right? So for sometimes 2 hours, 3 hours, you could be off grid. And what happens, you get back into cell reception, your phone lights up and you got all these notifications and all these things are happening. And people are like, hey, I was trying to get a hold of you. And then you call them back and you say, hey, sorry, I was just out of cell service. What did you need? And they say, well, I needed this and I needed that. Great. And you know what? Guess what? Life goes on. Nobody died during that time. Everything still happened. Life was still moving. You didn't answer the phone during that time and everything worked out. You don't have to answer your phone all the time, especially if someone else is answering it for you. Okay, that's delegation. So minimizing means understanding how to minimize those interruptions and understanding, and I love this rule, nothing is really that important. We think there's a lot of importance to things and really nothing is that important. One of the things that my coach always told me, and it really resonated with me, he says, there is nothing that important that it can't be dealt with until afternoon. There's nothing that happens in a day that is so important that it can't be handled after 12 o'clock noon. So think about that. Oh, there's a home inspection. Oh, this deal's going to fall apart. Oh, that's happening. Oh gosh, there's this, and I have to get back to that, and all these things that are happening. And what happens if you do push it to noon and follow your schedule? Guess what? It's going to work out. It always does. I was trying to reach you. It was 9:30 and I sent you 3 text messages and you didn't answer. Yeah, I wasn't available. I was in appointments. Oh, okay. Well, do you think you can deal with this? Yeah, I'm on it right now. I'm dealing with it right now. Great. Thank you. That's what a top producer does. A low producer stops everything and deals with it right away. So you have to ask yourself, do you want to be a top producer or a low producer? Love this quote. Time is the coin of your life. It's the only coin you have, and only you can determine how it will be spent. Be careful. Otherwise, you let other people spend it for you. So you have to decide whether you're going to be spending the coin of your life, which is time, or if you're going to let somebody else spend your money for you. You know, we talk about if you don't control your schedule, everybody else is going to control your schedule for you. Your clients are going to control your schedule, right?
Pablo,
Yes, Michelle.
I'm going to talk about an elephant in the room when it comes to, well, here it goes, premenopausal women or menopausal women, in that getting to bed and not being able to sleep, or waking up and your sleep's interrupted and all that sort of thing. So therefore, when the time that you're actually supposed to get up, you're exhausted. And so how do you deal with that?
I'm looking over at Simone and she's like, she's like, I get it. I know. You know, I don't have obviously the firsthand knowledge on this subject, so I'm going to defer.
I know.
But you know, it's a health issue, and it's a personal issue, and whatever it takes. I mean, that's what I would do, is whatever it takes to deal with that, whether you need to see someone, a specialist that can help regulate and balance you, that can help give you better sleep routines, whatever it is, that is what I would be doing. Okay. So there's all kinds of personal health issues. You know, we all, I think, deal with some sort of personal health issue, and whatever it is, high blood pressure, low blood pressure, cholesterol, there's all kinds of things. And we need to learn to, that's part of my personal time, is I deal with my health issues. If I've got things that are not allowing me to do the things that are on my schedule that I know are going to be important to me, I know I have to deal with those things in my personal time. So whether it's going to see a naturopath, going to see doctors, going to, you know, sleep clinics, going to whatever it is that you need to deal with to right yourself so that you can follow the schedule, that's what I would do. Does that make sense? Okay, perfect. Let's do an exciting exercise. I want you to, and some of us have done this in the past, but let's do it again because it's so much fun, okay? First of all, I want you to write your income goal for 2022. So how many deals are you going to do? Multiply that by the commissions and write down your income goal. So let's say that you've got this big income goal and you want to do, you know, whatever it is, 30 deals at 5,000 each. And so it's going to give you $150,000. I think I did the math right there. But let's say your income goal is going to be $150,000. So then I want you to take that number, whatever that number is that you have for your income goal, and divide it by 49 weeks. Why 49 weeks? Because you're no longer a low producing realtor who works 52 weeks a year. You get to take time off. So you're going to take 3 weeks off at least next year for a nice vacation, some time off, and you're not actually going to be working during those times. So 49 weeks. So I've worked it out. It says $3,061 per week. Now you take that number, whatever that number is, your weekly rate, and I want you to divide that now by 48 hours. Why 48 hours? Because that's the number of hours that you are going to work every week. Is it more than the 40-hour work week? Yes, but we work a little bit more than that. but it's still 48 hours is 6 days a week. What did I do here? 48 divided by 6 days a week, 8 hours a day, 6 days a week. So you get a day off on Sundays or whenever you want to take your day off, and you work 8-hour days, 6 days a week. And that gives us $64 per hour. Okay. And if your income goal was $60,000 for the year, that's $25 an hour. That's fine. Okay, whatever your income goal is worth. And then I want you to ask yourself, what activities are worth that hourly rate? So if I were to give you a job and I said, okay, I'm going to give you a job and you're going to work for me and you're going to make $64 an hour. How much does it cost to hire an admin assistant in your area? So maybe $18 an hour, $20 an hour, $22 an hour, $25 an hour. And what could they do for $25 an hour? I'd get a pretty darn good assistant for $25 an hour. What about $30 an hour? You know, $64 an hour. Are we talking about engineer rates at this point? It's getting up there, right? So I want you to think about the importance of income producing activities. If you want to make $150,000 a year as a real estate agent, that's $64 an hour. And I want you to ask yourself, is what I did in the last hour worth $64? I'll tell you my hourly rate when I calculated it up, right? Yeah, net income after expenses about $21 an hour. Wow, it's awesome, right? Yeah. Yeah, so it needs to go up, right? And my hourly rate is around $400 an hour. And so when I look at it and I go, geez, $400 an hour, I better be doing some $400 an hour work in the next 8 hours. You know, like that's a lot of money. People are paying me darn good money. I better be working better. So if your hourly rate's $21 an hour, Helen, we got to be doing the activities that get you up into the 60, 70, $80 an hour. Right?
Exactly. I'm working about 80 hours a week minimum, and I'm doing everything. And when I look at that, I'm like, well, that's what I'd have to pay an assistant.
Yeah, and it should be that it's skewed, right? Because you would look at these things and you'd say, well, if I'm getting $64 an hour, should I be doing my paperwork? If I'm getting $64, I mean, if you're getting $20 an hour, yeah, you got to do your paperwork. But if I'm worth $64 an hour because I'm going to make 150K, then I don't need to be doing my admin paperwork because there's somebody who I can hire for 3 hours to do what I'm doing in 1 hour. Okay. And this kind of comes to income producing activities and delegation. Now, we said income producing activities should be 75% of your schedule. So if you look at that schedule and the things that are in there are administrative or they're not directly focused on producing income, and we did talk about income producing activities in one of our sessions, but then you need to start to delegate more. Okay. So if you looked at that hourly rate and it was something under $25, well, gosh, we need to hire a VA. We need to hire a virtual assistant. We need to hire somebody. If you're going to do 25 deals or more in 2022, you should have a virtual assistant who can do at least some of your administration. They can do your paperwork. They can do your uploads and your downloads, whatever, you know, organizing your database, some of the activities that you shouldn't be doing as a real estate agent. If you're over 25 deals a year as you're on track. So if you say I'm on track to do 25 deals a year, you should have at least a virtual assistant at that point. If you are over 30 deals, you should probably hire a full-time admin. Okay, 30 or more transactions a year, you should probably hire a full-time admin so that you can focus on your income producing activities. And what were those? Here's some of your income producing activities, right? Things like lead generation, lead follow-up, going on appointments, presenting, showing properties, writing offers, negotiating, and closing. If that's all you had to do every day, how much more productive would you be? tons more productive, right? And I want you to consider that a good assistant is going to allow you to do more deals than you're capable of on your own, and they're going to free up your time, and they'll help you service your clients better than you can on your own. Helen, you've got a question in the chat here about, doesn't it depend on what your average deal nets you? Yeah, and I'm looking at income right now. So it's not your net, I'm looking at your gross. So it's for some people in Arizona, it's like, oh, their average price is 125,000, maybe in the Crow's Nest too. And it may need to be a little higher in order for you to generate that. But also in those areas, usually labor is a little bit cheaper too. So you should be able to kind of squeeze in at a bin. If you're doing in that 25, 30 deals a year, you should start to look at having an administrator to help you offload the paperwork. Because if you're generating 25, 30 deals, your business has some momentum at this point, and you should be able to leverage that momentum and be able to do more. Okay. So yeah, it does depend a little bit on the market that you're in. Okay, let's get moving on. Okay, sorry.
How do you hire VA?
How do you hire a VA? Google it. It's the easiest thing. So there's lots of companies. We use a company, and our amazing VA, Abraham, who's on this call, is with a company called Cyberbackers. So there's a company that you can look at. They're great. They do a great job. But if you just look up virtual assistant for real estate, you will find hundreds of sources and resources on how to find and hire a VA. Now there's, I have a whole module on hiring and training an assistant, but, and we'll do that at another time. But one of the key things there is there's VAs that they work like one person that works for 20 or 30 real estate agents, or you can find somebody that works for you exclusively. So it depends on the level of administration that you're going to do. Yeah, Cyberbacker, Upwork, absolutely. There's a few different sources that you can use. And we'll get into that in another session about the details of hiring and training an administrator. But there's definitely, I would say just Google and get started with somebody. It's always a learning curve, but it's worth doing. And yeah, we'll talk about that in another session. But let's talk about those income producing activities. We've got about 12 minutes and we can get going. I want you to put in the chat, what would you consider a non-income producing activity? What are some examples of non-income producing activities? Let's brainstorm on those. Attending inspections. Ooh, that's a good one. That's what we kind of have two categories here. There's the obvious ones and there's the less obvious ones. That would be a less obvious one. Answering emails. Yep. Scheduling showings and appointments. Good one. Yeah. What other kind of things are very administrative? What about loading listings? How about you get a new listing? What are the things that happen when you get a new listing that are non-income producing activities? Taking measurements and photos, absolutely. What else, you guys? I only see Helen putting things on here. What else would be considered? How about this, you guys? How about scrolling through Facebook during the day? Income producing or non-income producing? How about hanging out with your family or your kids during the day when you're supposed to be working? How about, well, here, let's go with a list here. So any administration of deals. How about dealing with signage? Putting up a lawn sign, putting up a just listed, a coming soon sign, going and delivering those to a listing. Does that generate an income, or is that servicing your income? Creating marketing materials, scheduling or taking photography of your listings, property measurements, social media posts of your listings. Hey, I just sold this house. Isn't that great? Yeah. Is that an income producing activity or an income servicing activity? Scheduling property viewings. Yes, Helen, you got that one. Delivering marketing materials to your listing, driving around, getting lock boxes installed. How about home staging, consultations, gathering, showing feedback, any accounting and bookkeeping, anything like that? What about less obvious now? A home inspection, that is a less obvious. That's a good one. Kind of things might be really less obvious. Who can think of something that you would just go, wow, I never really even considered that as a non-income producing activity?
About calling to have someone install your sign and so on.
Yeah, sure. Calling, even just arranging it.
Yeah.
So you've got somebody else doing it, but you're arranging it. And then you get the little notification from them, we've installed your sign. And then you go, oh, that's not where I wanted it. And you call them back and you say, actually, can you just move it back a little bit? And you know what, I'll go there. I'll take a picture of exactly the spot. Oh my God. Now you're into like non-income producing activities. Walkthroughs, good one. Yes. Yes. Somebody says, hey, do you have a lawyer that I can use? Oh, of course. Yeah, I'll hook you up with a lawyer, right? Responding to these client inquiries like this. Here's a list I came up with. And property inspections, you might be like, what? Wait a second. You have to attend the property inspection. A realtor has to attend, right? Well, yes, technically a realtor has to attend a property inspection, right? Does it have to be you? Or could it be another realtor? You know, I used to say, I'd phone up a few realtors and just go, would you attend a home inspection? You just got to be there for the 2 or 3 hours. I'll give you $50 or $75. Would you do it? Sure. What was my hourly rate? $400 an hour. So even if I gave them $700-800, it would still be worth it for me. Right? So you do not need to attend a home inspection now. Oh, but you know, my clients love it when I'm there. And so I can, you know, see what's going on with the house, and I can be understanding all the little nuances that might have gone wrong and that I need to negotiate on. Great. Guess what? The home inspector calls you afterwards or the client calls you afterwards and says, well, everything went well, except for the downspouts need to be extended here. And looks like there might be asbestos in the attic and there might be this and that. Okay, great. Let's deal with those things, right? But you didn't need to attend. And even better, and this is just a tip, but I always just ask permission of the sellers if I could send the home inspector and the buyer, and I had a little email template and I'd send it to them. And 9 times out of 10, they would say, sure, no problem, Pablo. Yeah, the home inspector and the buyer can go by themselves. And people say, well, I tried that, it never works. I did it and it worked 9 out of 10 times. So obviously we're doing 2 things differently, right?
So you don't have to have
preparing
a realtor
offers.
attend that?
If the seller says it's okay not to, then it's okay. So if the seller says no problem, then you don't have to have a realtor there. So with the seller's permission, yes. Preparing offers on a property. Now I had my assistant on speed dial, and if I was out showing my buyers a home, which is an income producing activity, I'm out there showing the house, and they say, yeah, I want to write an offer on this property. And I say, great. I phone up my assistant. I say, Priscilla, please write an offer on 123 Home Street. It's going to be 10,000 down payment or deposit, and this much down payment. Here's the price. Here's the names of the people. Da, 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 da. I tell her all the things. And 5 minutes later, 10 minutes later, there's an offer written in my inbox, and I'd review it and I'd say, okay, go ahead and send it to my clients for signing. I didn't write any of my own offers. I didn't need to, right? Preparing for negotiation, reading, filtering, and responding to emails and texts and all that stuff. This is all non-income producing activity. Receiving and responding to leads from online marketing. How about washing and detailing your vehicle? How about even less obvious? Preparing food, preparing lunches for your kids. All this, yes, I had my car detailed. It's awesome. I'll take it to one extreme. Simone would have people shop for her clothes. You know how much time it takes to shop for clothes? There are services out there, personal shoppers, and believe me, this is an incredible service, ladies especially. They will go, they will buy a whole bunch of clothes based on you and what your tastes are. They usually get some kind of discount because they have an in with the store. So you actually end up paying about the same as if you had gone out and shopped for it yourself. They use their discount. They buy a bunch of clothes. They bring them to you. You try them on. You keep what you like, and they go and return what you don't like. And they charge you a little fee for that. Again, what's your hourly rate? How much time are you out spending doing that? I mean, I know it sounds ridiculous, but let's take it to the extreme, right? So these are all the things that we'd call like less obvious non-income producing activities. We said, now this is kind of conclusion here, but we said, what should be in your schedule? Well, your schedule is really going to depend on your goals. If you have no listings and you have no buyers right now, what should 80% of your schedule be?
Prospecting.
Prospecting, yeah. Looking for buyers, looking for sellers. So yeah, here, if you have no listings and you have very few buyers, you should just be focused on prospecting. And then once you get to a stage where you have a lot of clients, you're gonna have to service those. Your schedule is gonna change. So I implore you to create a schedule that's going to fit into your activities. Let's make sure we don't run over time here. What type of lead generation are you doing? Again, that's going to depend on your schedule. So if you spend a lot of time with online leads and you spend a lot of time kind of responding to those and trying to set appointments from that, that might be a certain time of day that you can do that. You can probably do that just about any time of day. If you're on the phone, if you're calling past clients, maybe you're doing Facebook targeted ads and you're analyzing those kind of things, right? So you figure out what type of lead generation that you want to do, plug that into your schedule. Let's go, we got to get going here because we're going to run out of time. Got to stay on schedule. I don't know what's going on with my little, there we go. So prospecting, this is like, there's a whole module on this, but I've always said, this is an absolute critical element to every successful schedule. You should have some lead generation. Even the top agents still lead generate every single day. What's working for you, do more of it. If you like door knocking, do more of it. If you like telephone prospecting, do more of it. If you like online lead generation, just whatever you're doing, track your numbers, make sure you stay on schedule. Literally, the more people that you talk to, the more business that you're going to have. You have to talk to people about real estate every single day, or you're not going to have the business. And the next question, of course, is what do you say? What are you saying to people when you're talking to them? That's the skills that we talk about in prospecting. Those are the scripts that you use. In module 202, which is one of the modules that we do talk about scripts and dialogues, and I'm going to have scripts and dialogues for you. Just make sure that whatever you're doing, you're tracking the effectiveness of it. We do have a tracking form that we do schedule with people. If you're not getting the results from the prospecting that you want, you need to talk to more people or perfect what you're saying. So you either need to hit more people, because the more people you talk to, even if you say the wrong thing, you're probably going to succeed. Or if you're not talking to as many people, maybe you need to change up what you're saying, how you're saying it, the scripts that you're using, okay? For example, I would say, would you say that if I was to knock on a door, I was to knock on 10 doors and you were to knock on 10 doors, who would have more effectiveness? Who would get more leads? You know, somebody who's practiced and rehearsed for 5-10 years, or someone who's just getting started. It's always going to be harder when you're just getting started. If you're new versus a seasoned agent, you might need 5 to 6 hours a day of prospecting, where a seasoned agent may only need 2 hours a day of prospecting. Now, you might think, well, 5 hours a day of prospecting, I can't handle that. That seems too hard. It's hard at the beginning. Every successful realtor that I know, every single one started, and you say, what did you do to get started? Oh my God, when I started, it was massive action. I did 5-6 hours a day. I grinded, I worked for like 3 years. And then once I got up and running, I got the momentum, I throttled it back and life became easy. The first few years of building your business is going to be difficult, okay? So this is the recap of the ideal schedule and all the things that are included in an ideal schedule in the download section. So where the recordings are for these, I've included a couple of things for you, okay? Number one is what we call the My Perfect Schedule. It's a template that you can use to create your schedule. It starts at 5 a.m. If you need to adjust it, just scratch it out, change the numbers, okay? Starts at 5 a.m. and it goes all the way till 4 o'clock. Why 4 o'clock? Because you don't need to work past 4 o'clock. You don't need, like, remember Simone's schedule, right? Remember this one? Look at 2:30 it ends. Listing presentation. So hers starts, say, at 7:30 and goes to 2:30. So you don't need to have a long schedule into the evening. Control that morning schedule, control the rest of your day. Okay. For time management, I mean, obviously, if you just follow your schedule, you're not going to have time management issues. That's like, I know, Captain Obvious here, right? But that's not real life. When people ask you to do something and you just say sure and you react, that's when you come off of your schedule. So a lot of time management is the ability to say no to things. If you call your doctor and say, Doc, I need to get in Sunday at 2:00 p.m. What's he going to tell you? No, we're not open on Sundays. Oh, okay. Well, can I get in Monday then at 9 a.m.? You go, no, like the next appointment I have is Wednesday at 3 o'clock. Okay, I'll take it. Right? You don't go, well, I'm not going to you anymore. I'm going to find myself a doctor who's open. No, you take it, right? Because they fit you into their schedule. That's how it works. Remember what your hourly rate is, 64, 25, 400, whatever it is per hour. Would your boss be okay if you just got interrupted from your schedule? No, your boss would fire you, right? If your kids need to be driven places all the time, maybe you need to hire a driver for your kids and stop wasting your time. So here's 10 recommendations. We're over time. Are you guys okay to stay? If you're not okay to stay, that's okay. I'm going to fit in these 10 recommendations and we'll wrap it up. Okay. Number one, give yourself no choice but to follow your schedule because you make it so tight. Make a schedule so tight that you have no choice but to follow that schedule. Don't schedule any appointments for the morning. If you don't take appointments in the morning, there's so many more things that you can do to control your schedule. Next one, number 3, avoid personal tasks or appointments in the morning. What time do normal people go grocery shopping? People who work 9 to 5, do they just leave work in the middle of the day and go get groceries? No, right? Or it's like, okay, boss, I'm going grocery shopping for the afternoon, so we'll see you later. It's like, well, no, you're working till 5, right? So think about like treating your business like a business and yourself as an employee. You can't go grocery shopping middle of the day, right? Create habits so strong that not following your schedule would be weird. Anybody done working out for a long period of time? Like they work out for a month or 2 or something like that. They do exercises. I know I do. And if I don't exercise one day, I feel like weird, all right? Or I wake up at 5 every day. And if I don't wake up at 5, it's just weird. So when you create really strong habits, it's going to feel weird when you don't follow those habits. Number 5, control your offers. When are you dealing with offers? Does it consume you? I'm going to tell you a difference between a high producing agent and a low producing agent. A high producing agent receives an offer on a property. They quickly deal with the offer and they go back to what they're doing. A low producing agent receives an offer, clears their schedule for a week, and spends the next week dealing with every little tiny detail, and it over consumes their mind and it blows up their entire schedule. How are you dealing with offers? Are you in control or is it controlling your entire schedule? Number 6, be relentless about this schedule. Is there anything so important that it can't be put off till noon? Remember that piece of advice. Be relentless with your schedule. Number 7, how often are you being interrupted? Be intentional about checking your messages. So the first thing I do, you'll never hear my phone go off. It literally is on vibe all the time. It never has bings, bongs, notifications. Okay. Turn off those notifications. You do not need to be interrupted. Be in control. Put your phone in another room. And if your phone's in another room, then you have a landline or you have some bat phone, you have another phone that you use, and that is for outbound calls only, and nobody can call you back. It does not have like a call display on it. It's like one of those outbound call only. Make outbound calls. You're not taking calls. Let your voicemail handle your calls. Let your assistant or administrator handle your calls. Okay. Number 9, clean up your inbox. How many messages do you have in your inbox? It clutters your mind. It clutters your whole desktop. If you have all these messages in your inbox, it's not organized. It's not helping you maintain your schedule. Could you imagine arriving at your desk every single day and you've got a stack of 23,000 papers on your desk? It would be chaos, right? Clean up your inbox. That'll help you control your schedule as well. And number 10, if you can follow your schedule 75% of the time, you're winning. Don't beat yourself up if you're not following 100% of your schedule. Nobody does it. The best of the best of the best don't follow their schedule 100% of the time. But if you can get to like 75% of the time, like you look at your schedule and you followed 75% of it, that is a win, you guys. So having and following a tight schedule is going to solve most of your income problems, you guys. Having and following a tight schedule is going to solve most of your income problems. Anybody have income problems? If you're building a house, you have a foundation, right? And then you have the structure and the framing. The structure is your schedule. The structure of that house, the framing, is your schedule. And if you've ever had a day when you work all day and wonder what you did at the end of the day, that's that feeling of guilt. I worked all day and I have no idea. I was busy all day. I don't know what I did, right? If you follow your schedule, you're going to end your day feeling accomplished and guilt-free because you know you're on the right track. And it's a great feeling. Homework today is going to be to complete your schedule, that perfect schedule. Email it to me if you want some accountability. Send it to me, pablo@agentupgrade.ca. You can find it in the downloads, download it, complete it, send it to me. And Stephen Covey said, the key is not to prioritize what's on your schedule, but to schedule your priorities. So hopefully that helped a lot. We are going to do lead generation and conversion next. And this will be, I think, a good opportunity for people to go, what am I going to do to get business in 2022? Okay. So I'm going to look through the chat here and just make sure there's nothing
What was
else.
Stephen
Sorry, it's hard for
Covey's
me to-
quote, Pablo?
What's that?
What was the quote for Stephen Covey?
Yeah, I'm going to put that back up for you.
Okay.
Key is not to prioritize what's in your schedule, but to schedule your priorities.
Ah,
And sorry, when is the next
Next session's next
Yeah.
Tuesday.
same time?
Yep, same time every week. And you can find it. Remember, when you go into Agent Upgrade now, there's 2 sections. One is the downloads and resources, and the other one is the live training. That's where you'll find the link for each week.